Book friends, today we're going to talk about all the books I'm trying to get through before the end of the year and if you think I can do that or not. But let's go through this stack of books as well as books I don't physically own that I'm also trying to read before we get to the end of 2025, which is fast approaching. Also, if you want to let me know in the comments if you're trying to read any of these or what you're trying to finish before the end of 2025, as I know we all are looking at our TBRs and what we're trying to fit in to this busy holiday season. I would love to know what you're trying to read. I'll kind of go back and forth between my Kindle and the physical books. Let's just get cozy and hang out during this cold, chilly day. The first book I want to talk about is The Sword of Kaigen. This is a standalone. I hear that it's going to emotionally wreck me, and I am very much ready for that. I love emotional damage in books. I love to have my heart ripped out and say thank you to the author for it. So I'm actually really looking forward to this. I think I'm a little hesitant because it does have such a high review and people love it that I'm a little worried or apprehensive that I maybe won't fall into that category or that I won't love it as much as everyone else, and while I haven't read it, I can still pretend that I'm one of those people. I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. It's also a little intimidating based just off of size. I am one of those people that I get a little intimidated off of page count. I have really worked on that this year and have knocked out a lot of thicker books that I wouldn't normally read. In my reading journey, this is my 5th year reading, and so if you're like, does that go away with time? I will tell you, so far it hasn't for me, but I do it anyways because I want to read these stories. The Sword of Kaigen, I know it's like I said, I know it's a standalone, and I know it is war and there is magic, and it's also set, I believe, when it's cold, or at least part of it is during snow time or in the mountains. I know very little because I don't want to spoil too much for myself. So to me, that also just felt like reading in December, so I purposely saved this for the end of the year. Yes, I know. Talk about patience. I will be sad if I don't get to this. Technically, I could read it in January, but I really did want to read this in 2025. So that is a goal of mine. Also, I think this is the first time I've shown y'all here, but I updated the stickers on my Kindle. I like to see the teal of my Kindle Paperwhite, so I don't like to completely cover it with with a back or a sheet, but I do like to add some fun with stickers. I added these for spooky season, but honestly they're probably gonna stay here until January. Through Libby or on my Kindle, depending on what I'm in the mood for, whether it's audio or I read with my eyeballs, I want to also read The Words of Kings and Prophets and The Land of the Living and the Dead. I read the first book. This is the Gael song series. I read the first book in October. It was just okay to me. It was way more political intrigue, political discussion, a lot very slow build, slow pace. You're following 2 different POVs as well. One more with the Christian people and one more with the Viking people. And one of the ladies is a healer and one has fire magic. And so while that was interesting, because you're following 2 different people, the timeline moved even slower because you have to do a chapter with this woman and then a chapter with this woman. I'm really hoping that we get the payoff in book 2 of the build of book 1 to make me want to be excited about book 3. These were very highly anticipated reads for me about Vikings. I do want to like them. It was just a lot of talking and strategizing and not a lot of the actual fighting, and I would have liked a little more of that. And then also on my Kindle is City of Mirth and Malice. I read book 1, which was House of Bane and Blood. I really enjoyed it. I rated it 5 stars. It was so stinking good. It was gritty and dark, and the fantasy system and the magic system was so fun and refreshing. You had vampires and shifters, but the shifters can really shift into anything, not just werewolves. And then you had like science-based magic as well as you're born with it kind of magic. Plot, there were multiple things happening. So really from the first chapter, things were happening and things were moving, and I really enjoyed that. So I want to read book 2 here before the end of the year. Let's talk about another physical book now. This is The Will of the Many. This is the new republished version with additional content. I didn't read the original Will of the Many, so this is my first time reading this story. I read Red Rising earlier this year, all 6 books. This is going to be my next sci-fi read, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Again, I purposely held off on reading this until we were closer to The Strength of the Few, which is book 2. I know more than likely I'm going to love this, and I didn't want to have to wait on book 2. So I want to be able to read this and potentially book 2 before the end of the year. If I technically get to book 2 in January, that's still going to be okay. I at least want to read this one because it's also on my physical TBR. And then I just want to show you without the cover. I really enjoy pretty books, and so I wanted to highlight this as well. But the inside, we have a really cool map and inside pages, and then there's really nothing on the back side. But I love books with maps, and this one seems like it's going to be a good one. This is also one I have been challenging myself to read more by male authors, as I almost 100% of the time read books by women or minorities. So for 2025, I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone to read more by men, as I think these are books I will really enjoy. I just kind of put them off because I do love women so much. Back to books I don't own yet or are not on my physical TBR, as a lot of the time I try to utilize my library as well as Kindle Unlimited, and then if I like the book, I will buy the book. I do like to buy books I haven't read as well, just to have a healthy balance, as I do like physical books, but books are expensive. I would say a lot, if not 50%, if not more, read a lot of books through the library, and then if I do rate them really highly and I do think I would read them again, or if I recommend them a lot, then I will like to get physical copies, and that's also okay with me. I don't have to 100% own them before I read them. Another series I'm trying to read is the Legacy series. I read the Lady of Darkness series earlier this year. That was quite a feat for me, as they were 5 thick books. Now I'm continuing on in her world. I believe they're interconnected series in some way, or there's some sort of crossovers with her work. So I'm hoping to read the 3 books. I know there's a new book coming out in the Legacy world, but if I can at least read the 3 books that have been out, I will call that a win. If I get to the 4th book, yay, but the 4th book might have to wait until the next year. Where was I? I'm also going to read on my Kindle Of Blood and Aether. This is going to be a buddy read with one of my fellow readers, and I'm very excited to read this as well. This is one that has been on my TBR for years, and so I'm very excited that I'm actually getting to it. Back to physical books. This is the Poppy War series. Like Sword of Kaigen, I feel like I'm the last to read these. I feel like everyone has read these except me at this point. I am looking forward to these. I do know they are a little not for everyone. It's a little controversial as far as some scenes in the book, but I also hear that these are like life-changing books. I also just kind of feel like they're necessary reads for fantasy readers. If there are some scenes that are a little too hard, I might just skim them, but I don't want to miss out on the story overall. These are not the special editions that are so pretty. These are the white covers though, and I do really like the white more than the traditional orange, blue, and purple. I really like how these were designed, and I just think white is easy, looks better on the shelf overall. And then this one has a little insert of map, which I haven't really looked at because I don't want spoilers. So yes, this is a trilogy I'm hoping to read before the end of 2025. We'll see if I can knock it out or not. For context, I have read over 60 books for 2025. I have been knocking books out, so I am really proud of myself for how much I have read, while also making content, as content and making videos does take up a lot of what would usually be my reading time. My goal for the year was really 50 books, so really anything that I read here here on out is just extra and yay. I was really doing more word count this year and like audiobook hours as opposed to an actual reading goal, and I'm on par with that goal, so that's also exciting. Then last up on this list, certainly not least, is going to be the Faithful and the Fallen series. That is such a mouthful to say. But Malice, I don't have the fourth book yet. There is technically 4 books in this series. I need to pick up Wrath, but I have Malice, Valor, and Run, the first 3. I am hoping to read these before the end of the year, really hopefully knocking these out before I get too far into December so that I can read the Poppy War after. I'm really looking forward to meeting these characters, as well as I really hear that these books specifically have a lot of great epic battle scenes, and I hear that they also have really strong women, which all of that combined, sign me up. Let me read this. Very much looking forward to these. They're all very thick though, which again, we already established, intimidating for me. I will probably immersive read them to where I can have the audiobook and the physical book at the same time, so that if there's a lot of characters or a lot of places, I just think it will help me with context and absorbing everything. I don't know total how much that is altogether. I didn't add it up before I started filming, but it is quite a few books between now and the end of December. I'll do a follow-up video in January as far as what I actually got to, and let you know if I actually knocked all of these out or not. But if you have read any of these, let me know in the comments, and let me know what you're trying to knock out between now and the end of the year.